Hey guys, what's up? My name is Sire, and today I'm going to review the Transporter Refueled. I'm just gonna give you my general opinion of this movie right off the bat. It was an okay movie at best. Yeah, there weren't really that many positives to this movie, but there weren't such huge negatives that it made the movie bad right off the bat. The acting was okay. It was for the most part, not very good, but there were a few characters that I really liked, and they did okay. Ed Skrein, who played Frank, the main character, he was a decent Frank. He will never be Jason Statham Frank. He just can't reach that level. Before I talk about anything else, I want to talk about the best part of this movie, and that was the action scenes. They were all really cool, really well done, really well choreographed. I love how they didn't do that stupid action movie cliche where all the bad guys only came one at a time, so they'd have to just beat one at a time, and there wouldn't actually be a challenge. In this movie, when Frank got into a fight against multiple different people, they all, or at least more than one, came at the same time, and he'd either have to take one out at a time, find a way, so they had to come one at a time, either by walking to a narrow aisle or something like that, which he did once or twice, I think. Um, or he'd just have to find a way to incapacitate them all at once, which he also did a couple times. And I really like that they did that. It's so annoying when they don't. It's just that's not realistic. What are you even trying to do? For some reason, in this movie too, the bad guys always started off with guns, but for some reason, this after a few seconds before the fight even actually started, they just lost it. And they didn't really bother trying to get it back. That confused me a little bit. And they usually explain it like, "Oh, Frank knocked it out of their hands" or whatever, but like they didn't just try and get it back. Why would they stand so close so he could do that? That doesn't really make any sense. I got you now, Frank. Oh no. Well, I'm boned. I also liked how in this movie, every time Frank got into a fight, he usually took a significant amount of damage. He wasn't just some unstoppable force that could just walk through huge crowds of people without taking any damage, but while taking everyone out in one hit. They did that a lot in the previous Transporter movies, and that always bothered me a little bit. Not so much that I didn't like them, because I do like those more than I like this one, to be honest, but it did bother me a little because I don't like it because there's nothing special about Frank. If he were some kind of genetically modified human being, I'd be like, okay, that makes total sense. But no, he's just some normal guy who's extremely good at fighting and driving. He shouldn't be that unstoppable. It's unreasonable. And they didn't do that in this movie, and I really got to give him props for that. However, even though I say the action movies were the best part of this movie, I have to say it did have a lot of flaws. It did what I hate most about some action scenes: jump cuts. I despise jump cuts with the whole. Oh, I hate them so much with the fiery passion of 1,000 suns. They make it so hard to follow the fight, and they're so annoying and sometimes just unnecessary. In this movie, each fight had at least one jump cut per second, not even per move, per second. Sometimes they were just walking in place, and you'd have 6 jump cuts in a 3 second walk around. It was just, oh my god, I hate it. But besides that, it didn't ruin the action scenes so much so that they weren't still good because the fights were still cool. Uh, it just bothered me, and I might be the only one who hates it that much for all I know. But that's just a pet peeve of mine, really. The plot and the writing of this movie were not the worst I've ever seen, but they were really bad nonetheless. Like it just a lot of it didn't make any sense. I was able to understand the motivation of all of these characters, which is a good sign in any movie, frankly. But it just overall seemed really unnecessarily convoluted. It was some kind of revenge plot because they were prostitutes that worked for the bad guy and they had horrible lives because of him and they want revenge. And I just didn't think they had to go to such huge lengths to get the revenge they wanted, and it just It seemed unnecessary to me. Like, you could have just walked up and shot him. You were a prostitute. You probably had the chance to approach him with his defenses down. It just but yeah, there's no but. It just wasn't good writing or plot. Some of the dialogue was just kind of awkward. Not a lot of it, but some of it was just kind of, what? Why are you even talking like that? It's just, no, please stop. It was also kind of boring at times. I gotta say, I honestly feel like they could have made this movie 40 minutes long and done just as much. It it's like, it's hard to explain. They were doing these setups to get to the final act, so to speak, and there weren't really any obstacles each time. The only obstacles they had were each other and the three henchmen that Frank took care of easily, despite taking damage, like I mentioned earlier. And that took about an hour and 10 minutes of the movie, and it's just an hour and a half long. So I just don't feel like. And there were only three things they had to do, three, and they took an hour and 10 minutes to do it, give or take. And I just don't see how they managed to make it that long. It just didn't seem necessary. But you don't go to an action movie for the plot. The original Transporter movies didn't have that good writing either. It was a lot of it did not make any sense at all. But still, it's worth mentioning, and it did take away from my enjoyment just a little bit. I don't really have anything else to say about this movie. It was an okay movie at best, like I said before. It wasn't amazing at all. There weren't that many good points, but there weren't so many bad points either. As a reboot, I think it really failed to do what they were trying to do, as in revive the Transporter series, because it wasn't even remotely as good as the older ones were, I have to say. And Jason Statham was just a lot more enjoyable as Frank. Should you go pay for it to watch it in theaters? I wouldn't. I kind of regret paying for it. I would have liked watching it on DVD better. If you really like the Transporter, if you like action scenes like that, then I suggest waiting for it on DVD. Get it on Redbox. If it shows up on Netflix, watch it there. I wouldn't go to the theater for it. It's as simple as that. Peace out.